Initially, I wanted to write a role for myself that was, you know, a whopping great big role, and I wasn't very happy with the type of work I was getting, so I thought I'd take the law into my own hands. It seemed like the kind of role that I could possibly play well. I'd done a lot of Wilde in the theatre and in the cinema, and in one sense also he's a kind of patron saint to me. So there are many reasons really. Being a writer is a completely different world. It's a world that you're really on your own. You're motivated by yourself, and writing, in a way, in the whole process of making this film, it was one of the easiest parts. It was a long time ago, and it took quite a short time, and the challenges of being a director and an actor are, I suppose, you know, enormous, and you just kind of get through it really and hope for the best. All the other actors were wonderful actors and like Rolls Royces, and so for that I was very lucky in one sense, because I didn't really need to do anything to help them. And my feeling is that most actors like to be left alone anyway to get on with what they're doing in films. And they were very supportive to me in one sense, because obviously I had lots of other things to think about apart from just acting, and I certainly could not have made the film if it hadn't been with all these really extraordinary actors, because if someone had had a really hard time in the acting, I don't know how I would have managed to add that to the kind of all the stuff I had to do. But the thing was that even in the small parts, I had incredibly, all the actors were very overqualified and amazing. So that wasn't really an area I had to worry about too much. My biggest inspiration? Well, a lot of people. I wouldn't say one particular person has inspired me and I thought that is the way I want to go. There's a collage of people who have intrigued me and fascinated me from, and periods. You know, I'm very fascinated by the period, for example, that I became an adult in the 1970s, and lots of characters from that era. Obviously in cinema, a lot of Italian directors I liked very much, Antonioni, Visconti, Sergio Leone, Franco Zeffirelli. Those directors and their kind of heavily textured aesthetic really inspired me. But equally so did all the Hollywood films from the 1950s, all the James Dean, Montgomery Clift, Marlon Brando films, and then also Hollywood from the 1930s. I adored. All the different discoveries I made of different genres through my career I found inspiring, but I don't think one person in particular. You know, advice is the one thing that I think is a very bad idea in general. I think taking advice as a young actor is not necessarily a good idea, and giving it, I think, is a very bad idea. I don't know how I would advise anyone really. I think you have to travel by your own light in this business, and probably in everything in life. And advice to myself, I would have just said be a bit more serious about things probably. It's quite a cutthroat business. It can be quite, it can seem quite cruel because there's a lot of rejection involved in it. And the highs normally, or quite often, are just the forerunner of a low. And I think you need to have a lot of stamina, and you need to be able to keep getting up when you've been knocked down. And I think that for someone like me, who's essentially quite wimpy, has been very, very good because it's a struggle, I think, a career as an actor. I think anyone who goes into it thinking it's going to be green lights all the way, sometimes it is, by the way, but mostly it's not. And mostly it's a tough journey, some of it, you know, with highs and lows. and you have to know how to weather all those storms.